Okay, so let's try that again. So, hi, my name is Linda Murray Bullard. They call me the business plug. And on Sundays, I come on at 7 p.m. Eastern Time with the Business Plugs Mixer. Now, I have not been able to do that in a few weeks because I've been battling COVID. And so you probably have missed me if you follow me on LinkedIn or on Facebook. You probably been missing me because I've not been able to do my vodcast in a few weeks. But I'm coming on right now. This oxygen thing keeps slipping. I'm coming on now to tell you that I will be coming back on Sundays. I am lining up some very important guests who are going to join me here. And so while COVID tried its best to take me out, I'm still here and I'm still here for you. Today I started this podcast a few minutes ago, and then my oxygen man came. I've been waiting on him all day, and the minute I come on live is the minute he decides to knock on my door. But anyway, got that situated, and I want to talk about, hey Joel, it's good to be seen, Joel. It's good to see you too. So I want to talk about automating your business. One of the things I want to try to give you some pointers as self-employed business people who may or may not have been vaccinated, may or may not have experienced COVID. I want to share some of the business lessons I've learned from COVID, right? So I was in a coma. I don't know if it was medically induced or if that's just where the state I was in, but I do know that for 17 days I was out of consciousness. And so during those 17 days, my business had to continue running. Luckily and wisely, I had automated all the processes I needed for my business. So when I talk to you about the importance of automation in your self-employed business, in your small business period, is because we don't know what could happen to us. We don't know um, if we're going to be, have COVID like I did. I had an extremely severe case and I was in the hospital for like 25 days. All the while, bills were still getting paid. Customers still had access to my information so that they could continue to do what they were doing. But I was out of the loop. Like for 25 consecutive days, I was not functional. And so, because of that, when you are self employed, as I am, it's very important for you to understand that you need to have automation in place. Like you need to have where your customers can contact you. You need to make sure that all your bills are able to be paid while you are incapacitated, right? Thank you. Thank you so much. I do. Thank you, Jeremy. Thank you. But it's because these are things you don't think about as a small business, right? You're out here doing your thing. Like I was doing my thing. I am trying to open a co-work space and there was an Airbnb thing we were working on. And so I was out here doing my thing, like trying to build my businesses and things. And then COVID hit. And not only did it hit, it like took me out of the loop. So again, if you didn't see the first broadcast, on September the 21st, I went and got tested for COVID. The results came back on the 23rd. I called my doctor and asked her, what should I do? And she said, you get to the emergency room now. So I went to the emergency room, and within minutes of getting to the emergency room, I crashed, like quote unquote, I crashed. Now, the last thing I remember is driving myself to the emergency room, telling them who I was, giving them my ID, and then following this guy to some room. That's the last memory I have. But evidently, something went very wrong during that time, and they had to resuscitate me. And so when they resuscitated me, they put me on the ventilator. And for 17 days, I was out of it. I mean, completely, totally out of it. When I woke up, none of my body parts worked. And so I couldn't move from the neck down, and I couldn't speak. So I was not able to make decisions that I needed to make in order for them to take to care for me the way I wanted to be cared for. So they were making decisions for those 17 days for me. After that, I had several medical staff come by and say, "Hey, we thought we lost you because I was on the crash team and we worked very hard to save your life." And it turns out I was the first person on that day. I was the first person of my age group to survive the ventilator, because supposedly people in their 60s who have illnesses like mine are deceased. They die or they come out vegetated. And so I had to literally relearn everything about how to move, how to talk, how to swallow, um, how to breathe, because I my body forgot to breathe. And so the ventilator was breathing for me because I couldn't breathe for myself. I had my lungs were attacked severely. I had pain in my chest. Um, COVID puts this film in your lungs that really suffocates you. And so the machine was breathing for me because I was unable to. When I came back, according to my doctors and the medical staff, my lungs took the biggest hit. Mind you, I have comorbidities. So I have high blood pressure, I have asthma, and I have diabetes type 2. So those are four of the illnesses they say that COVID attacks. Like I don't have COPD, praise God, but I have enough for it to get me, right? I know. It's going through that, like being laying there and not being able to talk or move or do anything. Like there were days where my total care depended on the nursing staff of the hospital. And the people in the hospital said that I was the oldest living patient for that facility to come off of the ventilator and live. They were saying that normally people in my age group, I'm 61, normal people in my age group die or are in vegetative states. And so I've had to work at climbing back to where I was pre-COVID. Like it's crazy. It's absolutely it's just unbelievable. But because of the loving care of the hospital staff who were very extremely patient with me, because they showed their care, because of people like Bill and Kathy and Emily and all the other Lynette and Austin and all these fabulous people at the medical facility, I am able now to walk and talk and do a lot of the things I was doing prior to COVID. Am I healed? No. And that's the part people don't talk about. But I came on here not to talk about COVID so much as to talk about you and your business. Like there are conversations you need to have about what happens if you're incapacitated. Like who pays your bills? Who makes sure that your business runs like it's supposed to run? Like have you had conversations with people who are your support system? And if you are a partner and you all travel together, if both of you are incapacitated, then who's third? Who's that other person that needs to come along and know how to keep things going? Like these are things we don't think about, right? Because I'm a solopreneur in that I operate my business for the most part by myself. But in the case that things had to get done, like people had to get paid, my business had to continue on in my illness. Like I am grateful, grateful, grateful that I listened to some of the wise people who are in business and have been in business for a long time who say automation. Automation is the thing you need. Like you need to make sure your bills get paid. You need to make sure that the people who need to contact you can contact you. You need to make sure, like I don't have a second string, a second person to come. So for the days that I was incapacitated, I woke up to 275 emails. I mean, voice messages. 275 voice messages is what I woke up to. The people who are closest to me felt that that was something wrong, but they didn't know what was wrong. And they were reaching out, hey, hadn't seen you. Because like for the past 8 years, since March 4th, 2013, I have posted inspirational messages on Facebook every single day. Like every single day, I put these things out there to encourage people, to empower people, to help people make their day a little bit better, a little bit brighter. And they missed me. Like people missed me being there. So in those cases, like it was wonderful to wake up and see that people were like, hey, what's going on with you? We haven't heard from you. Where are you? And thinking about you. I am the mother of boys. So I have three grown men. My kids are 47, 37, and 32. And when when I was going through all this, my boys and my goddaughter, I have a goddaughter as well. God gave me a daughter because I didn't have a daughter. And so between my three boys and my goddaughter, they were making things happen for me. Like they were, and this is not because of a conversation we had before. It was just that they got up and did what they thought needed to be done. But those are conversations that we don't have. Like we don't tell people, if I'm incapacitated, I want you to do this. I had Amanda Jelks Law, God bless her. She came on my program Sunday, and she broke down all the different things that we as parents and as business owners need to think about. Like we need to think about who helps us financially. Like who do we want to be a signer? She talked about, people always putting another person's name on their check. And she was saying that that's not a good idea, that you need to make them as a signer as opposed to making them as a, a owner of your money. Because when people go to look at them, like if they got sued, they'd have access to your money too. If when they're considering their income, anybody doing research would consider your money as their money because you have made them own on your check. So she talked about the difference in that. And then she also talked about if you have from their 18th birthday up, you need to have directives for financial. Who handles my finances if something happens to me? And then health. Who can make health decisions for me in the case I become incapacitated? Like I had my younger son as my second next of kin, and so he was making decisions and talking to the doctors and all of that when I was unable to. But we still hadn't talked about, we talked about me not living on life support. Like we've had that conversation, but we haven't talked about what happens to the business and what happens to my medicals and all these conversations. If you are a small business owner, that you need to have with somebody that you trust, somebody who can carry on either temporary or from then on in the case that you're unable to. Like just thinking about those conversations. Hey there, honey. How are you, Sheena? Good to see you. Thank you, guys. I appreciate both of you and your husband. But you need to have those conversations. You need to make sure that you have a power of attorney in place. You need to make sure that you have both for medical and for financial. There's two separate things. You need to make sure that in the case that this is your way of making life, like I didn't receive income the whole time I was off. God bless the federal government for the EDIL because it dropped like the day I went in the hospital. So things were actually, my business was able to financially be okay. But think about what happens if you're incapacitated. Like sometimes we don't think about that. And a lot of us, we don't want to talk about death because death is seen so final. But those are conversations we need to have. And especially if you are a self-employed business owner, you need to think about what happens next. Like, because COVID is out here, the Delta variant is not caring that we don't want to get the shot or that we do want to get the shot. You don't really care. When you get it does its thing. And the thing I've learned from other people in talking to other people is like it attacks different parts of your body. For me, it's my blood pressure and my blood sugar is erratic because COVID has just put my body in shock. But then there are people who have broken limbs who are finding that those places where they have arthritis are really agitated after they've been through COVID. Or people who have brain, you have this thing called brain fog, right? And so some people, it's affecting them mentally. Like we don't even hear about the 98% that survive, that you walk away with something that COVID is aggravating within your body or knocked off sync. And so I spoke to one young lady and she told me she's 11 months out of COVID, like 11 months post COVID, and she had to have a lung transplant. Like there's just so many things that could go wrong with this disease that if you are a small business owner, you need to think about. Like with me, I have to wear this sometimes. And the reason I have to wear it is because my oxygen level falls. And that's probably what happened when I went to the emergency room. I don't feel it. Like I don't feel different. I don't feel dizzy or my breathing becomes labored, but I don't really feel it. And so my O2 level drops and I have to put oxygen on to make sure it stays at a certain level. There are so many things that could go wrong with this disease that I am coming on to kind of help you understand from my perspective what I've experienced myself, that there are some controls and some things we need to put in place before they're needed. Like if somebody had told me 6 months ago that you're going to go through COVID and you're going to be incapacitated for at least 17 days, you're going to be unconscious and in a hospital and hooked up by machines, getting all these shots and lab work and x-rays and all these things I've been through, these punctures, and I mean just everything you could think of. I had bacterial pneumonia, so I had to be on heavy antibiotics and steroids. Like it's been unbelievable. To say that I am the oldest living patient to come off the ventilator for that hospital. I'm 61 and I'm the oldest living patient on that day. Now, I don't know, since that time what has happened, but the numbers are starting to creep back up. And so it behooves us as small business owners to start thinking about what happens if, God forbid, something happens to you. What are safeguards you can put around your business now while you're well, while you're thinking, while you don't have brain fog like I do, like while you can understand what you want and you can actually articulate what you want to the people who it matters to. Like think about that now while you're in your good health, so that God forbid something should come up later, you'll have these things in place. I am so glad that I automated my business and it was able to run on without me, without a hiccup. My business has been totally unscathed, other than I've not been able to meet with clients like I was doing before. But I'm still online. I am still having not as many interviews. Like I talk to maybe 2 or 3 people a week, because I really just don't have, I'm not 100% back yet. And so I really don't have the capacity to take on a whole client load like I had before. But I'm getting there slowly but surely. They tell me that it could be up to a year before I get everything back. And for now, I'm just learning, because being hospitalized and being out all that time, my muscles all atrophy. So I'm having to rebuild my muscles that I didn't even know I had muscles. I'm having to actually rebuild and get things back together so that I can start back serving my community. But that's the thing is, like my community missed me. My family missed me. Like those who say they love me missed me. And so you have to think about, how do I teach the people I love to get along without me? And you have to put those things in place. My name is Linda Murray Bullard. They call me the business plug. And I'm just hopping on. I'm coming back on Sundays to interview people, to talk about what's happening in the business community, and to help us still move stronger, faster upward. You guys have a great rest of your day. And I'll see you on a Sunday very soon. Have a great one. Bye.